Hello, I am joined on the Zoom by stand-up comedian, game show quiz host, and one of my big-time favourites, Zoe Lyons. Zoe, hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm so delighted to have a natter with you. In the words of the very wise Hannah Dunleavy, you can never have too much Zoe Lyons.
Oh, you can. You can. Ask my partner, you can. You can definitely have too much. Once you've had too much, it's a bit like too much cheese. You've got to lie down for a while and sort of purge for a good sort of 16 to 18 hours.
Big question first. How are the pistol squats coming along?
Oh, I never mastered them. I've never mastered the pistol. They're so tricky. Do you know what it is? It's not the strength with the pistol squat. It's the balance. Mm-hmm. I have no sense of balance whatsoever. But I'm getting better in other areas. I did my CrossFit this morning. I was deadlifting this morning. I've gone beyond my own body weight now of deadlifting, so I'm quite happy with that. Not bad for a 51-year-old pumping a bit of iron.
I love it. I love the weightlifting. I realise I've turned into someone who's like, what do you bench, bro?
I got trapped under a bench press the other day and my teacher had to, it was so embarrassing. Like, I was like, I can totally do this. And I sort of got it out the racks and then I got it down, but then I just couldn't. It just wouldn't go back up again. And I was like, excuse me, can somebody help me out, please? Hello, can you help me out? Oh, it's so embarrassing. She picked it up like it was an earbud. I was like, oh God.
Like she's a gladiator. Yeah. For listeners who don't do heavy weights, who don't bench bro, the getting it down is the easy part, in fairness.
It's sort of the easy bit, yeah. The gravity helps with that bit, yeah. But getting it back up, it's so psychological. It's so psychological doing things like that. Because you can do it, and then there's a bit of your brain that goes, I don't think you can do it. And that's the worst. And it's usually when you're sort of mid-doing it, your brain goes, I think I've changed my mind. And your arms just go to jelly.
Wobble.
And that's it. Wobble, the wobble. And then there are other days where you just feel like titanium.
Absolutely.
And you're like, I'm just going to absolutely nail this. I had one of those days today. I felt really good.
Excellent news.
Despite 4 hours sleep, having driven back from Taunton last night. But yeah, I felt pretty powerful and awesome, I'll be honest.
She still got it. One of my classes, they get you to flip a tyre, 150-kilo tyre. And I've never felt more like a fucking warrior.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
It's
just, yeah. I mean, you'll never need it in your day-to-day life, hopefully,
sure.
Mickey. But if the tyre situation ever arises, you the girl. You the girl for that tyre flipping.
Thanks. I'm going to get cards made up and everything. So, Zoe, when you chatted to Hannah just over a year ago, you were generously candid about your alopecia. And your current tour is called Bald Ambition. So I just wondered at what point you thought, this is a show.
Like any comedian, at some point you have to monetize that misery. Like any incident in life for a comedian, you're just waiting for it to stop smarting so that you can make it funny. And I decided sort of last January, I was like, I've got to do something with this. I've got to do something with this. Because I'd started talking about it on stage and I thought, actually, my hair is growing back. I've got quite a lot of hair at the minute. And I thought, I'm going to mark this period of my life with a little tour show and talk about it and do it. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm 26 dates into a 40-date tour. And when it's finished, it'll be finished. It'll be done.
Yeah.
And that's genuinely how I feel about it. It'll be boxed off and done. Like my producer said, do you want to add some more dates? And I went, nope, that'll be it, done. That's it. That bit of that life will be not dealt with. That sounds too final because, things are always processing, but I'll have been through a thing. I'll have turned it into something funny. I'll have toured it. And now it'll be time for something different.
Closure, I think, is the American term.
That's the more eloquent way of putting it. Yes, that is the more eloquent way of putting it. Yeah, a bit of closure on it.
And has your emotions towards your alopecia changed? Because I've noticed that you have ditched the wigs a bit more recently.
Yeah, I mean, I still wear the wigs for telly. I'm in this really weird position at the minute because it is growing back quite a lot, but I've been left with the way that alopecia is an unpredictable beast of its own. It's left me with, I've got a bald patch right in the middle of the front of my head. You're like, oh, come on, guys.
Yeah.
There. really, and one side still kind of gone, and I'm missing quite a bit at the back. But it's I reckon I'm probably 2 to 3 months off feeling really confident with going out without a hat or anything, or a scarf or anything. I think it'll be back. It'll be back to a point where, yeah. So I still wear scarves and hats on stage, and I still wear the wigs on the telly. But if I'm posting stuff online, if I'm meeting people and talking about it, I get my head out, yeah. I'm sort of more at peace with it. I am more at peace with it.
It's really emotional, I think, hair. And this isn't to dismiss male pattern baldness, which I know can cause a lot of distress to guys, even though it's much more accepted. But I think particularly for women, our attachment to our hair, even like growing my silver in, growing my grey in, my hair was still there. It's just a different fucking colour. But it was still quite an emotional journey because it makes us look at ourselves differently. We don't necessarily recognise the person in the mirror, and that's really disconcerting.
Yes, it's challenging. And also society views women different. We're just used to more as a society seeing men without hair. That's just become a sort of visual norm. And that's not to say that men don't struggle when they lose their hair. Of course they do. They really do. And men struggle with alopecia as much as women do struggle with it. But it's just that as a society, our brains don't sort of twitch so much when we see a guy without hair. And I talk about it. I wasn't particularly vain, but I really like my hair. I really like my hair. And I think because mine was associated with so much mental turmoil, mine was stress related, and it was very much triggered by, I call it now a breakdown. I had a breakdown, and it's one thing to sort of feel that you're healing mentally from a breakdown, but when you can still see the physical scars of it, that's quite challenging. It's sort of, it's arresting at times. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And because it was such a dramatic response to a mental episode, it sort of, it challenges you to the core.
I feel like when our body gets involved with our mental health issues, and mine absolutely does that too, in a more just shitting myself when I don't want to. I mean, when do you want to? I don't know when I've ever wanted to. When my IBS kicks in, it feels like a betrayal. It feels like, oh, fuck, yeah, what?
Yeah, why are you letting me down now?
Yeah, totally.
Why are you doing this? Yeah. So, I won't lie. I'm very glad I've done this tour. I'm very glad I've spoken about it, and I'll be very glad to put it to bed.
Yeah, fair dues. I'm afraid I'm gonna pick at the scab a tiny bit more though, because you've also been really open about the fact that you had what you have been terming a midlife crisis, and I'm assuming it is what you just said about your breakdown, and it just doesn't seem to be something we hear women talk about. Even though I've known a lot of women in their middle years, late 40s, early 50s, who just want to flip the table, chuck it all up in the air. There's a reason why Shirley Valentine really spoke to a lot of women. And I wondered what the response has been with you sharing that information about yourself.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think it resonates a lot with people. And it's great. We're in a moment in history where women are talking much more openly about menopause and all of those things that go with it. But I think sometimes what happens is we allow men to have their midlife crises. We allow them to, do you hear about Roger, shacks up with a 26-year-old, bought a sports car, he's living in his shed, and we kind of go, oh, that's normal. But with women, I think our midlife turmoils are much more connected to our menopause, typically. And then it becomes sort of, well, she's going through the change and she's getting a bit warm and she's getting, she's a bit irritable. But actually, aside from that, I think we could also have our own moments of crisis, aside from the menopause, aside from that. I think we sort of cover it all with that now. And mine was partly to do with the menopause, but also partly to do with a lot of recognizing finally in my 50s that a lot of behaviours that I'd carried through my whole life weren't serving me anymore. I had to address a lot of things. I had to address a lot of things that I'd carried with me from childhood. It came to a crunch point, and that was aside from any hormonal changes I was going through. And I think sometimes we brush everything off for women as being part of the menopause. And actually, I think midlife can be quite challenging for people because you get halfway through your life and you realise you don't really know who you are.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we have this sort of extended adolescence now. I think our generation, so I'm 46, you're in your early 50s, our kind of age are the ones where we've had this, you don't have to have kids until you're older. Yeah. You don't have to have kids at all, and you are less frowned upon by society. They're still not like totally with it, but they're less likely to frown upon you. We've had this chance to do more and to kind of extend our youth in inverted commas. And then you get to a point where you're like, oh, well, I do have to take stock. And there's a time where caring responsibilities come from the other side, where our parents are getting older or our guardians are getting older. And it's a huge mental fuck, isn't it?
Shift. Yes, it's a huge mental shift, particularly if those relationships that you had with guardians or parents were somewhat fraught. And, you know, you realise that you've been looking for things within those relationships that actually, when you get to this age, my age now, you go, that's never going to come. That's never going to, those things that I've been searching for are never going to happen. And now I'm in the position of having to give. There's a lot of learning has to go on to be able to accept that, counter it, and be able to do it and become an adult.
Yeah.
And yes, it sounds ridiculous. I'm 51 to say become an adult, but I genuinely have had to learn how to do that. I genuinely have. And because I've started on that process now of learning and trying to sort of work things out, I'm finding it fascinating. You know, I had a massive revelation, going quite deep here, but I had a massive revelation the other day that actually what I've done with my life is turn my coping mechanism, which is making fun out of things, into a career.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realized that's why I associate so much anxiety with what I do as well, because it was a coping mechanism and now it's a career. But my coping mechanism was the way that I got through life, but it had a lot of anxieties attached to it. You know, if I don't do it properly, this will happen and that'll happen and these people won't be happy and that person won't be happy and I've got to make it all right. And I've often looked at comedians who seem to be so light and joyful with things. And I've envied them because there's always been this heaviness with it attached to it for me, which I've only just realised. So I'm like, oh God. So it is. It's quite. I'm enjoying this part of life. It's like an onion. This bit of life. You realise that it's not. It's got so many layers to it, and you peel them off, and life just becomes much more interesting and fulfilling.
And sometimes it smells, and sometimes it makes you cry.
Sometimes it smells. It makes you cry a lot. It makes you cry a lot.
So it's obviously you went through this huge trauma, and your coping mechanism, aka your job, is to take that, make it funny, and share it with other people. But do you feel better for it? It sounds like you feel better for it. I'm not saying, do you recommend having a breakdown, but do you feel better for it?
Oh, God, yes. Yes. I mean, if I could go back in time and flick a switch, then none of this would happen. No way. I would much rather have experienced this. Definitely. Again, it's a cliche, but nothing worth having in life comes easy. And that's what learning is, isn't it? That's what it's all about. So, no, I mean, even losing the hair, I'd do it again because it's very confronting and it made me stop and go, if my body is resisting this much, then my mind must be holding on to other things too. Then it's time to take stock and listen. So no, absolutely. I'm very grateful for where I am now. Really grateful for where I am now.
I think it's good to hear for you. And I think it's really positive and comforting for other people, particularly other women, to hear.
Oh, I have much greater capacity for happiness now. Much greater capacity. The understanding and the capacity is now there. Yeah, I feel quite positive.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
You've got a month and a bit left of Bold Ambition, and people can check ticket availability on your website, which is zoelyons.co.uk. Then what are you up to? A little bit of lying down, maybe?
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to very much make like a Southern European and take a lot of July and August off.
Lovely.
We never do this as comics. Either you're going to Edinburgh, you're preparing for Edinburgh, or, stressing about Edinburgh, or all of those things. And I thought, actually, it's been a full-on few years for me mentally, and I don't want to just plough on regardless. I want to stop and take stock and see what I want to do. because sometimes, doing this job, it is relentless. It's like, if you're not doing, you're not living, you're not being. And, I don't want to be in that state anymore. And sometimes it's like being a fly, sort of just flying into a window the whole time, trying to find the way out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got to reverse quite a long way back to have a look and see where the door is. So, my plan is to just actually decide what I want to do with the next bit. If that's stand up, great. If it's not, great. Well, let's see what happens. I don't just want to carry on because this is what I've always done. And now I just want to be more, oh God, it sounds, with the risk of being really wanky, Nikki, I just want to be more fulfilled in everything that I do. I want to be proud of what I do, and I want to enjoy it, and I want to put my all into it.
Good. And hopefully the next time we chat, with whatever you're doing, you will have lost the bit that makes you think that sounds wanky as opposed to what you deserve. Don't know. Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Is lightning back? Are you doing any more lightning?
No, we did 2, and then I think the technical term is it got axed. They always say that, don't they? They always say that in the press, and they'll go, not recommissioned. It's always axed.
Yeah, make it sound violent.
Yeah, and I was terribly sad about that because I really enjoyed doing that, and I really thought I'd found something that I really enjoyed doing it, and I actually thought I was quite good at it.
You are really good at it.
I really enjoyed it, and I was like, I thought, oh, here we go. But such is the way. I mean, there are things that you can control in the world, and there are other things that you can't, and the decision of the powers that be at the BBC are things that I can't control. So, sadly, it's no more.
Well, let's add that to the pile of freedom for Zoe. More options out there.
I'm very much available to host forthcoming quiz shows on the television. I did enjoy it. I really, really did enjoy doing it. So who knows? Who knows what will happen?
Are you any good on the other side of it? Are you any good at quizzes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite competitive.
Quick fire round, Zoe. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
In which sport might you compete for the claret jug?
Oh. Claret jug. Oh, a whiny sport. I don't know what it is, but I want to get involved. The claret jug. Is it horse racing?
It's not horse racing.
Okay.
Which sport has booze at the end?
Which sport does have booze at the end?
It's golf. The answer is golf. Like the
is
90s.
it?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Okay. Which Patrick Swayze film has the tagline, "Before Sam was murdered, he told Molly he'd love and protect her forever"?
Oh, I have no idea. No idea. I've set myself up for a fall here, haven't I? I can only think of one Patrick Swayze film, and it's not, what's it? Dirty Dancing.
It's not Dirty Dancing. It was Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Which is the largest ocean, the Pacific or the Atlantic?
It's the Pacific.
Correct.
Yes.
For bonus points, how does my mum pronounce Pacific?
Specific.
Yes, she does. Look at that.
The Pacific Ocean.
Zoe, where can people follow what you're up to, if indeed you are up to anything, on the socials, please?
I am on Instagram mostly these days. I'm still on Twitter, but I don't really like Elon Musk, so I just don't bother anymore. He's just silly. He's a silly little lump of Play-Doh, pushed in eyes, and I just don't want to get involved. So Instagram, because Mark Zuckerberg's so much better. No, because I like it with the pictures and the reels of dogs. I'm on there as Zoe Lyons Comedy.
Amazing. And thank you so much for chatting with me. It has been, as ever, a gorgeous pleasure.
Oh, it's always lovely to chat and see you.